Today we're looking at Olaudah Equiano. Hello, welcome to the Daily Bellringer. Please don't forget to subscribe and take a look at the questions down in the description. So today we're focusing on the life of Olaudah Equiano, who was a former enslaved person himself who became a writer and leading abolitionist that helped to expose the evils of the slave trade and slavery and helped to fight for its elimination. In 1789, he published his autobiography entitled The Interesting Narrative of the Life of Olaudah Equiano. In it, he described his experiences of being enslaved, surviving the Middle Passage, and his life enduring slavery. Much of what we understand today about the Middle Passage comes from Equiano's personal experiences. Equiano was born somewhere around 1745 in what would be today southern Nigeria and Africa. He recounts that his father was among the leaders of the community and also describes European visitors coming to his village bringing guns and gunpowder and exchanging them for prisoners of war or criminals to be enslaved there being held in his village. At around the age of 11, Equiano and his sister were left to take care of their home while their parents went out to work for the day. While their parents were gone that day, Olaudah and his sister were kidnapped. Kidnapping was a common occurrence as people were kidnapped and sold into slavery to European slave traders. Olaudah was separated from his sister and after several months arrived at the coast where he was placed on a ship and taken to the island of Barbados. From there he was sent on to be sold in Virginia. In Virginia, he was purchased by Michael Henry Pascal, who was a member of the British Royal Navy. Pascal renamed Equiano Gustavus Vasa, and that was the name Equiano would use for most of his life. It actually wasn't until he wrote his autobiography that he used his given name of Equiano. During the 7 Years' War from 1756 to 1763, Equiano traveled with Pascal back to England and became trained in seamanship and was involved in several sea battles. Pascal was so impressed with Equiano that he sent him to live with his sister-in-law in England so that he could go to school and learn to read and write. In 1762, Pascal sold Equiano and he was taken back to the Caribbean, where he was purchased by Robert King, who was a Quaker merchant from Philadelphia. Now, you might be surprised at how many times Equiano was purchased and sold, but unfortunately that was common for most enslaved people to be sold many times. Robert King basically made a deal with Equiano that he could purchase his freedom once he saved up enough money. King helped Equiano to learn to read and write more and also allowed Equiano to work independently of him and trade and make his own profits, and in 1766, Equiano purchased his freedom. However, he realized quickly that staying in the American colonies would be dangerous as he was almost kidnapped back into slavery again while in Georgia. So he traveled back to England. And from there he became a ship hand and, for a lack of better words, embarked on several adventures, traveling to the Arctic and Central America. And by the early 1780s, he was living back in London and began to get involved in the very early abolitionist movement, or fight to eliminate slavery. Those involved in the movement very quickly realized what a powerful voice Equiano could be for the cause, because he had experienced all these things himself and could give firsthand accounts of just how terrible the institution of slavery was. And furthermore, the fact that he had survived the Middle Passage and had witnessed the atrocities of the Atlantic slave trade made him invaluable to the cause. Many other abolitionists began to encourage him to write and speak about his experiences. He became one of the leaders of what was called the Sons of Africa, which was an abolitionist group in London made up of former enslaved people. He gave lectures and spoke out against the institution of slavery. During the American Revolution, the British government offered freedom to any enslaved person in the American colonies that would fight on behalf of the British. Once the war was over, many of these former enslaved people were displaced to England or Canada, and Equiano became a champion for their rights and attempted to help resettle and establish homes for them. Olaudah Equiano died on March 31st, 1797, at about the age of 52. He was buried in London, but due to development, his grave today has been lost. Now, although his final resting place has been lost, his legacy lives on. In a time when many did not consider Equiano to be a man simply because of the color of his skin, he overcame incredible odds, and he stood up and made his voice heard and made many realize the terrible truth about slavery. In 1807, the British outlawed the slave trade throughout their empire, and in 1833, they outlawed slavery altogether. Equiano did not live to see either one of these take place, but it's clear that Equiano contributed heavily to both. So, with that, hopefully you learned something, and thanks for watching.